and access to information.
2023 is the 30th year of celebrating World Press Freedom Day. This year, the focus is on shaping a future of rights, freedom of expression as a driver for all other human rights. The indices that led to these same demands 30 years ago are still in play today. So we went to the FCT chapter of the Nigerian Union of Journalists and hear from journalists themselves on what is stifling their freedom of expression.
The world have not understand generally the work of the press or the media. They look at us as people that are spying people or in different connotation.
The reverence we had is being eroded because even fake news emanate from even the journalists themselves.
Another gag on Nigeria's journalists comes from actual regulations in Nigeria's laws. On the sidelines of this World Press Freedom event, we spoke to the chairperson of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, FCT chapter, on what laws are anti-freedom of expression for journalists and what solutions can be proffered.
The broadcast industry, in particular, is hamstrung by the NBC code, and that is why we'll be talking about co-regulation, that before there is sanction, there should be a board that is made up of both government and media owners and media practitioners to look at what the infractions are, if there are any.
Freedom of expression by the press has improved greatly in Nigeria since independence, and even better since the country's return to democracy in 1999. However, the safety of journalists are still largely ignored in Nigeria. In 2022 alone, 67 journalists were killed in the line of duty across the world. One of the more recent shocking stories of violence against journalists involves a 48-year-old Indian journalist called Shashikant Warishe, who was mowed down in February this year by a car driven by a person Warishe had written an article against. In Nigeria, at least 19 journalists have been killed in questionable circumstances since the country's return to democracy in 1999. They include Zachariah Issa of NTA, Bayo Uhu of The Guardian, Titus Badejo of Niger FM, Todwe Salem of The Vanguard, as well as Enenche Akogu and Precious Owolabi, both of Channels Television, just to name a few. Apart from security, Nigerian journalists face a plethora of challenges.
Journalists in Nigeria are poorly remunerated. They are not just poorly remunerated, they are also epileptically remunerated. Where what you get at the end of the day is not commensurate with what you put in, it's a disservice to you.
Good afternoon. Thank you. In every war, the very first casualty is truth. And make no mistake about it, Nigeria is at war. A war against corruption, a war against poverty, a war against insecurity. So many wars on so many different fronts. And as these different wars continue, it is the job of journalists to ensure that truth is preserved. That way society can continue to exist with fairness and accountability. As the world celebrates World Press Freedom Day, it is the job of every government in the world to ensure that journalists are able to carry out their jobs with freedom and also be able to express themselves regardless of the situation, regardless of whose ox is God. That is the call for this World Press Freedom Day, a freedom of expression for the fourth estate of the realm. Kayla Megwa, Channels Television News.